Well, guys, it's finally time. We're going to look at all of the Heritage revealed cards. I want to look at all of them in one video, since there's only 2 for faction. I didn't think it makes sense to split them up. But let's go take a look at all of them and see what we've got going on. I haven't seen them all yet. But let's take a look. Actually, no. Yeah, I haven't seen them all. Let's go take a look and see what we think, though. Starting with Farina. So 6 for 10 monsters card. Vampire. I like vampires. Vampires is my favorite monsters deck. Let's go with that. Pretty sure it is. Farina. Vampire. Deploy. Give an enemy unit bleeding force. So 10 for 10 value. Bleeding is synergy with vampire is fine. Bleeding units cannot be boosted. Okay. Now that is very cool. So potentially if your opponent's playing a bunch of cards that get really boosted, note this won't work on Sigvald. Sigvald purifies himself. So that won't work. But other than that, you can kind of stop anything big from getting boosted. Now, stopping things from getting boosted is a mechanic that doesn't see a lot of play, because we already have Dire Bear. Dire Bear prevents the opponent's row from being boosted. The problem with Dire Bear, though, is that your opponent can just play in a different row. Like, they just play their stuff they want to boost in the other row. This means they can't do that. But it also means anything they play, like, it has a deploy boost, it'll boost itself because it won't have bleeding on it yet. There's nothing that just puts bleeding out on the opponent's cards as they play them. So this is much more of, I'm going to put bleeding on your guys, and they won't be able to be boosted if you're playing something like Aaron Knight or something with a boost effect. If everything's bleeding, they won't get boosted. I'm not sure how useful this bleeding units can't be boosted thing is. It'll probably be meta dependent, and I don't know it'll be that powerful, but it's a very interesting effect. Depends what you want to play in your vampires. Also worth noting, this applies to your own bleeding cards too. Like if your cards are bleeding, it's also stop you from boosting yourself, so just keep that in mind. We'll see what we can do with it. Next up we have Lara Doran, Elf Wild Hunt, Disloyal. Deploy damage self by the total duration of frost on enemy rows. So you give it to your opponent if you have 6 durations of frost. That's actually kind of a lot. 6 is actually kind of a lot of frost durations. But to be fair, you can also do it with 4 durations and put her on a row where she's the only unit and the frost will kill her, because she has a Death Wish effect. I definitely saw this one when it came out. Death Wish, boost all enemy units by 2. So okay, you put this out there, it either does 6 damage to itself, or you put it out there and the frost does 2 to it, and it's at 2 or less, and the frost kills it. It boosts all of your guys by 2. And then when your opponent plays a gold Wild Hunt unit while Lara is in the graveyard, they also replay Lara from your graveyard and give her doomed. So we play her out there, we kill her, and she boosts our guys. Wild Hunt's not the best. Swarm deck is the is like kind of the thing. I guess the Riders can come out for a couple units at once, and maybe you get like 6 or 7 units if you're playing a longer round. And she boosts you by 14. So her deploy effect will be situational, I think. And Wild Hunt, I guess, plays longer rounds in round 1 a lot of time, because you really want to put on round 1 pressure with Wild Hunt. At least usually. Lots of people playing Wild Hunt that I play against do. When your opponent plays a gold, so this is in your graveyard, we give it to them because it's disloyal. It's in their graveyard. We play a gold Wild Hunt unit. Lara replays from their graveyard and give her doom. So we'll replay her from the opponent's graveyard to give out the Death Wish boost thing again. I think situational is a good way to put this. It does boost all units though, not just Wild Hunt units. I wonder if there's some kind of deck you can make where you're just playing... I guess it'd be kind of hard, right? I was thinking if we could do something with, like, the Arrakis spawning drones and then boosting all the drones. Because this is just a better Yennefer if you have drones. The problem is the replay requires a gold Wild Hunt unit. I'm wondering if there's something there we could do. You don't usually play Wild Hunt in that, though. I mean, you can always just play Tempest into double Frost and then play her later. I don't know. I'm not immediately blown away by her ability to Wild Hunt, but maybe we can make a hybrid deck between her and Arrakis Swarm that's really great. Or maybe you just play like a couple Arrakis spawny cards in your deck, who knows. But interesting. And maybe I'm just underestimating how many cards you play as Wild Hunt. Like if you're in a 10-card round with Wild Hunt, you're probably going to play like 7 or 8 units, which is really good. The replaying it also really helps, because if you get 10 points twice, that's 20. That's pretty good. But it does take a fair amount of frost on the enemy rows to trigger this, so I'm not too sure. And that's the thing. Like, if there's a whole bunch of frost on the opponent's row, so we play this, and they've got 10 duration of frost out, and we've played most of our units. Like, we had those 7 or 8 units, we boost them, all of them up. That also means we have a whole bunch of turns of frost we're wasting, because they're going to expire. I'm not sold by this, but we're going to test it. Next up, Novograd. 10 location resilience. Alrighty. It's probably going to be good. It's a location resilience. Those tend to be good. Profit 3. Okay, so we get 3 coins. At the end of your turn, gain a coin. Order, play a bronze gang. Oh yeah, Collusion's coming back. Favorite Syndicate deck. We're going to be playing some Collusion. This is really good. So every turn you get a coin. If you just open with this, and then you play most of round 1 and most of round 2, you're getting like 12 coins. More like maybe 10 coins. 10 to 12 coins. That is a ton of coins on top of the profit. This could potentially get you like 16 coins. Which is really, really good. And one thing that happens in particular with, at least in my experience with Collusion, which is like I said, I've played quite a bit of Collusion. What tends to happen is your little birds are insane. Like, they're really, really good. You use some really good fees like that, but you just run out of coins. And this can really help you stop running out of coins. I like it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And not to mention, like, other than the massive amount of coins you can get, you just get a bronze gang at some point. That's really good. This card has so much value potential, and I love it. It's going to be great. Next up, Madame Marquis Serenity. Human Blind Eyes, 13 provisions, 5 power. I like the Gwent cards in her hand. It's the most important part of this artwork, is she's holding some Gwent cards. Gwent within Gwent. So, profit 4, so she's 9 for 13 essentially right away. Deploy melee, summon a Sly Structures from your hand. Okay, and then ranged is past 4 Peaches. Tribute 8, summon both. Every opponent plays a card, gain a coin. Okay, this is a... I think I've mentioned quite a few times that Passive Flora just got power crept. This is like Passive Flora on a tribute. Because you're getting coins and getting both engine cards at once. This would be really good in combination with Passive Flora. I think we'll make a Passive Flora deck. This is just such a strong effect. You get 3 engines in one. You play this. Note that the summoning the Seductress or Peaches, the melee range, doesn't require a fee or tribute. You only pay the tribute if you want both. Which means that getting the second engine costs you 8 coins. Just keep that in mind. The second engine costs you 8 coins. The first one costs you 0. So there's actually a big trade-off there, whether you want 1 or 2. I like that. I like that, because a lot of cards are just like, hey, if you want to pay the coins, you get the effect. This is like, take, what's the one that spawns a Seductress for like 4 coins or something? The guy with the fluffy hat. I know, it's a great description. The 8 provision guy. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't. If not, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's like you're always going to pay his tribute to get the engine. This gives you the option of where you might actually choose not to pay the tribute to get both. I like that. I like that it gives you that choice. I like that it makes that choice impactful. And then it gives you a coin every turn itself, which is its own engine value. It'll also trigger your Peaches. Hordes easier. Things might be better with Peaches. But then it gives you coins when your opponent plays a card. And the opponent's probably going to kill this. But if they kill this, they can't be killing Peaches or Seductress. If you think she's going to live, the Peaches might be better because you're always giving those coins for the Horde. If you think the opponent's going to kill her, I think you want the Seductress, because then the Seductress gets a point, especially if you get the Bonded. I like this card a lot. Probably going to play some Passive Flora. Scoia'tael, Dwarf. Okay, the Dwarves have not been great recently, so I'm glad to see them getting some attention here. Eudora Breckenrigs. 2 for 8 with 1 armor, so okay. At the start of the match, infuse a random Zoltan in your deck with... When this card appears on the battlefield, spawn Eudora Breckenrigs to the right of self and boost her by 1 for each Zoltan in your starting deck, then banish self. So at the start of the game, we thin our deck by 1. That's like an important thing to note here, because she's banishing right at the start of the game. And then she infuses a Zoltan with when you play the Zoltan, you spawn Eudora to the right and boost her by 1 for each of your Zoltans. So you can either play like 1 Zoltan, which you probably don't because of Zoltan's company being really good with our leader, or not leader. It used to be the leader, the Brewer. He used to be the leader before they disconnected the leaders from the abilities. So we're probably playing like 3 Zoltans, 2 or 3 Zoltans. So she thins our deck by 1. Let's compare it to Roach. I think Roach is a good comparison. Roach comes out of your deck when you play a specific gold card, like a gold card. This comes out of your deck when you play a gold card that's a specific gold card because it's a Zoltan card. When you play that Zoltan card, this comes out of the deck and boosts herself by 2 or 3. It's pretty comparable to Roach. But at a Knickers price. Maybe Knickers is a better comparison. Maybe Knickers is a better comparison. But this is actually pretty good, I think. And unlike Roach and Knickers, you can't draw her. When I first saw her, I thought it was a little underwhelming. This actually seems better and better now that I think about it. Especially because dwarves want you to have a bunch of dudes with armor for Brewer. Like, hypothetically, if you're playing 1 Zoltan, this is just a Roach that comes out of the deck when you know it's coming at a certain time, instead of randomly. You know, I think this isn't bad. Eudora, maybe we'll be playing. One problem with dwarves can be consistency. That is for sure. So, I like this. Mahakam Pass. Resilience Location. Ooh, another one of those. Like I said, those tend to be pretty good. 10 provisions. Deploy. Create a bronze Scoia'tael dwarf and give it 4 armor. Actually, there's a lot of Scoia'tael dwarves, aren't there? We're going to go back here and open up the library real quick. I think there's a bunch of them. It said bronze, not just 4 provisions. So we'll go to bronze, Scoia'tael, and dwarf. Oops, not card type. We want color. Oh, there's only 6. You know why there's 6? It's because we messed up the search. Gotta type in tags. The dwarf tag. And then we go to Scoia'tael. And then we go to bronze. Yeah, that's much better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12. So you're going to see a lot of different things from this. It's not going to be like the old Bountiful Harvest where you see like 3 of 5 choices. This is going to be a lot more like a Runestone where you see a whole bunch of things and just pick which has the best value. But I think you can high roll guard and volunteers if your volunteers are still in your deck. This is just really good a lot of the time. Barricade on defender is good. I guess a lot of these are going to be good. Yeah, just a lot of decent choices here. So probably getting good value out of our 4 provision guards. Oh no, which one was it? I don't want to skip ahead. It is this one. I accidentally closed one of them, but we already looked at it, so it doesn't matter. Mahakam Pass. We're back. So the bronze dwarf with 4 armor is probably worth 5 provisions, my guess. The armor will matter for the barricade effects and stuff. Just 4 to 5 provision value there. Then we can spawn and play Tempering. Okay, this isn't as good as the Syndicate one, I don't think. Because that one seemed kind of nuts. But this is still good. Because you can carry over that Tempering order and just play it on whatever you want. You can play it on your Brewer to keep them alive. You can use it as a finisher. Potentially you can use this with Aglace. Because if you have this has a Tempering, your leader has a Tempering, you Aglace 2 Temperings on Aglace is 20 points. So she's 24, I think. Because she's base power 4, if I recall correctly. Check that. But I think you could just play Aglace and Dwarves then. Yeah, she's a 4. So if you just play Aglace and Tempering, that's 24 as a finisher. That is actually probably the best thing for this. We're going to try that. When we play dwarves, we're gonna try that because I think that's the best finisher you can get in dwarves. As you just play this, 2 temperings on an Aglace. We're gonna do that. But yeah, I think this card's pretty good, especially with that synergy with Aglace. That's interesting. Next up, we have Princess Ada. Glad to see she finally got a card. 5 for 12, Human Aristocrat Cursed. Cursed synergy. Not much of that in the game right now. Deploy Devotion. Gain immunity. Ooh, so if you're into Devotion, she's immune. That's big. Of course, Curse of Corruption is pretty popular right now, so worth noting that. Assuming the first time a cursed unit enters the battlefield each turn, boosts self by its base power. So it's Revenants, right? Like Revenants are the big cursed things, right? But there are other cursed ones like the Knight. We want to go by Cursed. And Northern Realms. I'm guessing you're just going to play Devotion for her. She doesn't have immune, but we'll check the neutrals in a second. Where is Northern Realms? There you are. So Revenant's probably the biggest one. When you look at the patch notes, Revenants aren't getting a buff, so they're staying at 3. But every time you spawn the first time you spawn a Revenant, she'd get +3. That's pretty good. 5 turns, that's 15. She's 20 then. It's pretty good. Also worth noting that Cursed Knight is what I was thinking of. He's just a 6. I would give her 6 points. That's really good. But I think these two are the most important ones for this. No one really plays Marquis, although I did get a good highlight with him off of Temple of Melody a couple times. And then Drog. Maybe Drog. Drog would be the first one to enter on his turn because he'd play him, and he transforms them all to Revenants. Maybe we can do something there. Why is this a cursed? I guess the castle's cursed. But so yeah, some choices here. I think these will be the best. You can always do Sorceress too, but I think you're playing her in a Revenant deck. Revenants have not seen play in a long time, have they? As far as neutrals, she will not have immune, but Olgierd and Olgierd have good value with her. I think you're going to want to play her with immune and stick to Northern Realms, but there are if you don't care about the immunity, you can do stuff. But I think you're going to play her with immunity. Next up, we have Radovid Judgment. He's a 6 for 10. Human Soldier Aristocrat. Surprised this isn't Calanthe, if we're going to be honest here. Devotion. Because Calanthe was a leader. Is she the only leader who doesn't have a card? I think Calanthe is the only leader that got... Remember they took the leader... They disassociated the leader identity with the ability. I think Calanthe is the only one that didn't get a card afterward. Because Ancient Leshen... Woodland Spirit... I was thinking of the Monster Hunter quest. The Ancient Leshen. But yeah, everyone who played Monster Hunter and did the Witcher crossover comment. That was funny. That was fun. But yeah, he comes off of the leader ability. I think Calanthe is the only one missing, right? That's weird. Figures should be in here. Anyway, Radovid, Iron Judgment. Devotion. Once all of your charges are used up, summon self from your deck to your melee row. That's not the most exciting card. But it's like Hubert, right? You already have Hubert that summons out of your deck after you use charges. Is there a specific combo you do with this? I mean, it probably just goes in some Renfrey Priestess decks. Instead of Hubert. Or with it. I'm not that excited about this one, to be honest. It's just like another thinning card. It's got 6 power, though, instead. I wish he had like another ability or something. Because this is also a Devotion effect, so you can't use him with Renfrey. I say use him. Yeah, you can't use him with Renfrey. So whatever I just said was wrong. You wouldn't play him in the Renfrey deck. So he's just thinning then. And Devotion Priestess. But you don't play Devotion Priestess because you want Snowdrop. I'm not too sure about this. I'm not sure what we would really do with Radovid, if I'm being honest here. It's kind of weird. Anyway, moving on. That's not my favorite one. Rosa and Edna Var Atra. Which I guarantee I pronounced wrong. Human Aristocrat. 7 for 9. That's actually pretty good value. Deploy, create a bronze unit from your opponent's faction, then spawn it on the opposite row and give it swang. Okay, so it's not good value because you're giving your opponent a unit. Order. I guess we should finish reading this. Damage an enemy unit by 0, increased by 1 for each aristocrat in your starting deck. Okay, so say you're playing a ball deck, right? You have usually 4 bronze aristocrats because Servant's not an aristocrat. So you've got the hunters and then the thirsty dames. Usually you play those 4. And you usually play like Felipe, you play... I don't remember if Cupbearer's an aristocrat or not. I don't think he is. Usually play like 7 or 8 aristocrats, I want to say. Maybe not 8. Maybe like 7. The 4 bronzes, then you play like Vincent, Felipe. I think there's usually one more. Rompoli is the one, I think. So like 7 or 8 probably. And then if you're playing her, I guess she'd probably be 8. So let's say there's 8. Damage enemy by 8 as her order. That's really good. And then so I think, her order is going to be at around 7 to 8, I think, each time you use it, which is a lot. That's actually a ton of damage. Death Blow, spawn and play a base copy of the destroyed. Oh boy. So this is one of those high upside, high downside cards. High risk, high reward. That's the phrase I was looking for. So yeah, because if you play her, she gives your opponent a spying unit, and then they kill her. you got 7 value that died. I guess they'd have to use a really big removal, though. And most likely she gets locked. That's probably... They're not going to heat wave her, I don't think. And at 7, it's kind of hard to kill her. So most likely she just gets locked, is the way the opponent answers her. So you give your opponent a spying unit and they lock this. It probably played for like 3 or 4 points, which is really bad. However, if you use its order, you could potentially hit a 7 or 8 power unit and then spawn it on your side of the board. In which case... She played for that same 3 or 4, plus whatever you killed. So, plus we'll say 7 damage. So at that point, she's played for 10 or 11, and then you get the unit to your side of the board. If it's a 7 or 8 power card, it probably was a boosted one, honestly, or an engine, but high rolling, you could get a 7 or 8 to your side of the board as well. So 14 on her abilities, playing for 17 or so. That's insane. It has really high upside, really low downside. Or, I said it again. High upside, high downside. Very interesting. I don't think, at least in my decks, I don't really play Purifies in Aristocrat, so Lock's a good answer to her. How many Aristocrats could we theoretically fit in a playable deck? Probably like 11, 10. Yeah, this order could have some really funny clips if we can make her ability even bigger. But I like this card's cool. I like cards like this where the opponent has time to interact with it. But then it has a good, interesting effect. Like, because you can either you can create a good bronze to give your opponent and then kill it because you're only spawning it. If it has a deploy effect or something, it wouldn't matter. And you get to play it when you get it, right? So you spawn it on the opponent's board. If it has a deploy effect, doesn't matter. But if you death blow it, you get to play it and you get the deploy effect. So you can either give your opponent a good unit and then kill it so you get a good unit, or give them a bad unit. I like this card. Next up, we have Henry Var Atra. 8 for 11. Again, good value. Human Aristocrat. Okay, probably another Aristocrat on this deck. Deploy. If your opponent has not passed and their hand is not full. Okay, so like the normal condition. Create a legendary unit from your faction that was not in your starting deck and give it to your opponent's hand. With the rest of the bottom of your opponent's deck. Then create a legendary unit from your opponent's faction that is not in their starting deck. Add it to your hand with the rest of the bottom. I gotta think about this for a minute. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is what's happening. We're going to play this. We're going to see the create screen with 3 choices of 3 things that were not in our deck. We're going to pick one of those 3 choices to go in the opponent's hand. The other 2 go on the bottom of the opponent's deck. We then say the opponent's Northern Realms. We then look at the create screen of 3 Northern Realms legendaries, put 1 in our hand, put 2 in the bottom of our deck. I guess this is way, way better with Rune Mage, right? If you Rune Mage, you have 5 choices. I guess you give your opponent 4 legendaries and yourself 4 legendaries. Is this good? I mean, you just create the legendaries, then you play Yonkel. Wait, you just play this first. Like hypothetically, you just play Rune Mage. You play this, get 5 legendaries, and then you play Yon, and you stack them all to the top of your deck. You don't play a bronze card the entire game. There's definitely some potential. That being said, how much of this potential is your opponent going to get from the cards you put in their deck? I guess Abduction would play them, right? Abduction's really good with this. Because Abduction plays... I like Abduction. Abduction's really cool. It's a random fact. Abduction's a cool card. Because it just plays like it wasn't their starting deck, right? Yeah, so you can just play these things with Abduction. If they're low enough provisions. Huh. This is an interesting effect. And obviously you're going to give your opponent the worst legendary in their hand, and it probably doesn't synergize with them. And they're going to pick the best of the legendaries that does synergize with you to put in your hand. You're probably playing Assimilate, so they help out that way. It's interesting. I guess you could probably fit either Amir or him. They're similar provisions. Moving on to Skellige, we have Hulen. I hope I said that right. 7 for 10 human. 7 for 10 is not bad. Deploy boost all allied humans by 1. Okay, so it's a deploy to boost all humans. Pretty much every Skellige warrior is a human. Like if you're playing Skellige warriors, they're all humans. The only thing this doesn't really work with is... Actually, let me check. Are the Witcher students humans, or they gotten their Witcher transformation yet? What is... It's armor up, right? It spawns a bunch. Witcher students are Witchers, not humans. Okay. Yeah, so it won't work with the Witchers. But otherwise, pretty much all the humans. I mean, the Witchers aren't humans, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so say we're playing like warriors. We probably got like 4 or 5 warriors out. This plays for 12. Not bad. Start the game with 5 random Skellige bronze humans in your graveyard. Ooh. Okay. All those graveyard synergy cards that don't work round 1. Now they do. This is pretty cool, but I'm not sure how much it'll get played. It's nice with Freya's Blessing, though, because a lot of times you draw Freya's Blessing round 1, you're like, I don't think we can play this round 1, you shuffle it back in, but now you can play it on a bunch of choices, and you get choices of cards that aren't in your deck. I know that some people don't like that because of the RNG it puts in the game, but I think it's nice you can see cards that you normally wouldn't see and have the choice of playing them. Kind of like a Magic Compass. I like this card. I think it's cool. I'm not sure how good it is, but we're going to try it out. This was definitely something we have to test to find out just how good it is. And then we have the last one, 1 for 12. Octel. Human Warrior, deploy. Damage self down to 1. He's already a 1, so if he's boosted, he goes down to 1. Play all copies of Freya's Blessing from your graveyard. Give them doomed. Ooh. Well, we're just going to start with this part of the effect first. So, theoretically, we play 2 Freya's Blessings with this. Those are 5 Frisian cards. It synergizes really well with the one we just saw, Hulen. It's very cool. Also lets you do combos with bronzes, right? Like you can play Greatsword plus the on-crate guy at 3 random damage, stuff like that. You can play 2 of your Messengers from the Sea, because we like rain around here. That's very cool. And that's actually pretty good. Then we have at the start of the game, increase own base power for each alchemy in your starting deck. Okay, so say we're playing Freya's Blessings in alchemy. Usually in these, say like it's a rain deck, you probably play like 6, at most 6 alchemies. Probably more like 4. Just I guess you could play Mahakam Ales over Pellers. And then you get a couple alchemies easily that way. Say we have 6 alchemies. He gets his own base power up by 6, and he damages himself down to 1. The thing with the damage down to 1 is there is that Hey May card. This one, Herbalist, that heals by 3 and boosts by 3. And there's also Restore. Like, those are the two big choices here. And there's also just kind of healing. It could be cool. This could be very interesting. Guess we're trying to get some warrior synergy with alchemies instead of raids. I'm just trying to figure out how good this is. I think it's good. Like, the first part, the 2 Freya's Blessings, already really good. That's a really strong effect. Playing 2 cards at once. And then I'm trying to think about the second effect, where the base power, like, are we going to heal this thing with little half-brews, which are, not little half-brews, the singers. Are they just called half-brew singers? Maybe. Those guys. Or with Handmade Flaminica, just healing over time. We're going to play Restore on this with a bunch of alchemies. I think this is a cool card. Yeah, I think this is a cool card. We'll see how good it is. But yeah, that's the cards for the Heritage expansion. Took a lot longer to review them than I thought it would, but it's finally all here. Which ones do you guys like the most? Do you think I was wrong on any of them? I probably missed something. Let me know what you guys think and which ones you're most excited to play. And we'll see you in the next one when we start playing decks in the new patch. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.